Shabbat Shalom Snowbound Purim celebration, where normally we would gather together on Purim and enjoy fellowship, food, and fun. The weather has other ideas. Not to be left out in the cold, we welcome you to join us online to celebrate the festival of Purim, otherwise known as the Feast of Esther, and honor not only the bravery and resilience of one Jewish woman, but also to celebrate unquenchable spirit of the Jewish people. Where there is tyranny, let the justice and saving power of Yahweh, our Elohim, and our Messiah Yeshua truly set the captive free.
Hallelujah. We are going to celebrate the one who truly sets us free. And though his name is not mentioned in the book of Esther, we know his presence is always with his people. And wherever his people are, he is with us and will come to our aid. And we know we have the victory with Yah. With Yah, we'll gain the victory with Yah. Scatter the enemy with Yah. We'll gain the victory with Yah. We'll gain the victory with Yah. We'll gain the victory with Yah. Scatter the enemy with Yah. We'll gain the victory with Yah. We'll gain the victory. Horses made ready for the day of battle. The victory belongs to the Lord. The sword and the shield and the bit and the bridle, the victory belongs to the Lord. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, shatter the enemy. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. O house of Israel, trust in the Lord. The victory belongs to the Lord. Is he not your shield and sword? The victory belongs to the Lord. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, scatter the enemy. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. O house of Aaron, trust in the Lord. The victory belongs to the Lord. Is he not your shield and sword? The victory belongs to the Lord. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, scatter the enemy. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. If Yah be for you, who can be against you? The victory belongs to the Lord. If Yah be for you, who can be against you? The victory belongs to the Lord. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, scatter the enemy. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, scatter the enemy. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah, we'll gain the victory. With Yah. Praise the Lord. No matter where we are, no matter what kind of trouble we are in, we need only look the hills from whence comes our help. I lift my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. Oh, maker of heaven and earth. Your foot shall never be moved. You'll never stumble or slip. He who watches Israel, he never slumbers or sleeps. Oh, he never slumbers or sleeps. The Lord will keep you from harm. He watches over your soul. He will watch you come and go, now and forevermore, forever, now and forevermore. I lift my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. Oh, maker of heaven and earth. Maker of heaven and earth. Oh, maker of heaven and earth. Maker of heaven and earth. Oh, maker of heaven and earth. We know we can depend on Him no matter where we are. Tyrants come and tyrants go, but our King, our God, endures forever to do battle against those tyrants and remove them from us. And there was one such tyrant long ago that came against our people, wanted to eliminate our people. And that spirit, the spirit of Haman, continues to this very day. But we Do not fear, because our King comes to our rescue. This is a story of that wicked man. Oh, once there was a wicked, wicked man, and Haman was his name, sir. He would have murdered all the Jews, though they were not to blame, sir. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And nosh some hamantashen. That's those triangular cookies filled with jelly or chocolate chips. And Esther was the lovely queen of King Ahasuerus. When Haman said he'd kill us all, oh my, how he did scare us. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And nosh some hamantashen. But Mordecai, her cousin bold, said, what a dreadful chutzpah. If guns were but invented now, this Haman I would shoot, sir. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And nosh some hamantashen. When Esther speaking to the king of Haman's plot made mention, ha ha, he said, oh no he won't, I'll spoil his bad intention. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And nosh some hamantashen. The guest of honor he shall be, this clever Mr. Schmarty, and high above us he shall swing at a little hanging party. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And nosh some hamantashen. The moral of the story: of all his cruel and unkind ways, this little joke did cure him. And don't forget we owe him thanks for this jolly feast of Purim. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And nosh some hamantashen. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And nosh some hamantashen. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And nosh some hamantashen. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And nosh some hamantashen. Yummy. We know that the Feast of Purim is to be a time of laughter, but the story behind the celebration speaks of a dark time of oppression. The spirit behind the events of the original Purim are mingled with the tears of a people held in bondage by those who hate our God and those who he calls the apple of his eye. Let us to never forget the goodness of our God. And so we're going to be, I hope you have your noisemakers. I've got my noisemaker. And these are used to stomp out the name of Haman or Haman so that his name will not be remembered. And if you don't have a fancy noisemaker like this, you can stomp your feet and you can say boo whenever Haman shows up. Uh-oh, the king just showed up. Queen Esther better do her business.
What is my honor to do now is read the Megillah.
Not the gorilla.
I will put my scepter down, as no one will be allowed to enter the king's throne room without the scepter being pointed at them. We could all open our Bibles to the book of Esther. These events took place in the time of Ahasuerus.
Gesundheit.
The Ahasuerus,
Gesundheit.
who ruled over 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. It was in those days when King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
sat on his royal throne in Shushan, the capital. In the 3rd year of his reign, that he gave a banquet for all his officials and courtiers. The army of Persia and Media, the nobles and the provincial officials were in attendance. He displayed the dazzling wealth of his kingdom and his great splendor for a long time, 180 days. At the end of that time, the king gave a 7-day banquet in the courtyard of the royal palace garden for all the people, both great and small, there in Shushan, the capital. There were white cotton curtains and blue hangings fastened to silver rods, with cords of fine linen and purple. The columns were marble. The couches for reclining at the table were of gold and silver on a mosaic flooring of malachite, marble, mother of pearl, and onyx. Drinks were served in gold goblets, with each goblet different from the others. There was royal wine in abundance, as befits royal bounty. The drinking was not according to any fixed rule, for the king had ordered the stewards to serve each man what he wanted. Also, Vashti, the queen, gave a banquet for the women in the royal house belonging to King Ahasuerus.
Gesundheit.
On the 7th day, when the king was in high spirits from the wine, he ordered Mehuman, Biztha, Harvona, Bigtha, Avgata, Zatar, and Carcass, the 7 officers who attended him, to bring King Vashti before the king with the royal crown.
Wasn't that Queen Vashti?
Queen Vashti before the king, in order to show the people of the officials her beauty, for she was indeed a good-looking woman. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the order of the king, which he had sent through his officers. This enraged the king. His anger blazed inside him. As was the king's custom, he consulted sages, well versed in the matters of law and justice. With him were Karshna, Setar, Admada, Tarshish, Mers, Marsna, and Memucan, the 7 vice regents of Persia and Media, who were in part of the king's inner circle, and were the most important officials in the kingdom. The king asked the sages, according to the law, what should we do to Queen Vashti, since she didn't obey the order of King Ahasuerus,
Gesundheit.
conveyed by the officers? Memucan presented the king and vice regents this answer. Vashti the queen has wronged not only the king, but also all the officials and all the peoples in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus.
Gesundheit.
Because this act of the queen will become known to all the women, who will then start showing disrespect towards their own husbands. They will say, King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
ordered Vashti the queen to be brought before him, but she wouldn't come. Moreover, the noble ladies of Persia and Media, who hear of the queen's conduct, will mention it to all the king's officials, which will bring about no end of disrespect and discord. If it pleases his majesty, let him issue a royal decree, and let it be written as one of the laws of the Persians and Medes, which are irrevocable, that Vashti is never again to be admitted into the presence of King Ahasuerus,
Gesundheit.
and that the king give her royal position to someone better than she. When the edict made by the king is proclaimed throughout the length and breadth of the kingdom, then all the wives will honor their husbands, whether great or small. This advice pleased the king and the officials, so the king did what Memucan had suggested. He sent letters to all the royal provinces, to each province in its own script, and to each people in their own language, that every man should be master of his own house and speak the language of his own people. A while later, when King Ahasuerus'
Gesundheit.
anger had subsided, he remembered Vashti, what she had done and what had been decreed against her. The king's servants attended him, and a search should be made for young, good-looking virgins. The king should appoint officials in all the provinces of the kingdom to gather all the young, good-looking virgins to the house of the harem in Shushan, the capital. They should be put under care of Haggai, the king's officer in charge of the women, and he should give them the cosmetics they require. Then the girl who seems best to the king should become queen instead of Vashti. This proposal pleased the king, so he acted accordingly. There was in Shushan, the capital, a man who was a Jew, whose name was Mordecai,
Yay!
the son of Yair, the son of Shimi, the son of Kish, a Benjamini. He had been exiled from Jerusalem, and the captives exiled with Jeconiah, king of Yehuda, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, had carried off. He had raised Hadassah, that is, Esther,
Aww.
his uncle's daughter, because she had neither father nor mother. The girl was shapely and good-looking. After her father's and mother's death, Mordecai
Yay!
had adopted her as his own daughter. When the king's order and decree were proclaimed, and many girls assembled in Shushan, the capital, under the care of Haggai, Esther,
Aww.
too, was taken into the king's house and put under the care of Haggai, who was in charge of the women. The girl pleased him and won his favor, so that he lost no time in giving her her cosmetics, her portions of special food, and 7 girls from the king's palace to attend her. He also promoted her and the girls attending her to the best place in the harem's quarters. Esther did not disclose her people or family ties because Mordecai
Yay!
had instructed her not to tell anyone. Every day Mordecai
Yay!
would walk around in front of the courtyard of the harem's house in order to know how Esther
Aww.
was doing and what was happening to her. Pause for Mayim. Verse 12. Each girl had her turn to appear before King Ahasuerus,
Gesundheit.
after she had undergone the full 12-month preparation period prescribed for women, consisting of a 6-month treatment of oil of myrrh and 6 months with perfumes and other cosmetics for women. Then, when the girl went to see the king, whatever she wanted would be given to her as she went from the harem's house to the king's palace. She would go in the evening, and on the following day she would return to another part of the harem's house and be under the care of Shagaz, the king's officer in charge of the concubines. She would not go to the king again unless he was especially pleased with her and had by name, summoned her by name. When the turn came for Esther,
Aw.
the daughter of Abigail, whom Mordecai
Yay.
had adopted as his own daughter to appear before the king, she didn't ask for anything other than what Haggai, the king's officer in charge of the harem, advised. Yet Esther
Aw.
was admired by all who saw her. She was brought to King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
in his royal palace in the 10th month, Tevet, during the 7th year of his reign. The king liked Esther
Aw.
more than any of his wives. None of the other virgins obtained such favor and approval from him. So he put the royal crown on her head and made her queen in place of Vashti. Then the king then gave a great banquet in Esther's
Aw.
honor for all his officers and servants, decreed a holiday for the provinces, and distributed gifts worthy of royal bounty. When the girls would gather on other occasions, Mordecai
Yay.
would sit at the king's gate. Esther
Aw.
had not yet revealed her family ties or her people, as Mordecai
Yay.
had ordered her. For Esther
Aw.
continued obeying what Mordecai
Yay.
told her to do, as she had when he was raising her. On one of those occasions, when Mordecai
Yay.
was sitting at the king's gate, two of the king's officers, Bigtan and Teresh, from the group in charge of the private entryways, became angry and conspired to assassinate King Ahasuerus.
Gesundheit.
But Mordecai
Yay.
learned about it and told Esther,
Aw.
the queen. Esther
Aw.
reported it to the king, crediting Mordecai.
Yay.
The matter was investigated, found to be true, and both were hanged on a stake. All of this was recorded in the daily journal that was kept with the king. Sometime later, King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
began to single out Haman, the son of Hamdata, the Agagi, for advancement. Eventually, he gave him precedence over all his fellow officers. All the king's servants at the king's gate would kneel and bow down before Haman.
Boo.
Because the king had so ordered. But Mordecai
Yay.
would neither kneel nor bow down to him. The king's servants at the king's gate asked Mordecai,
Yay.
"Why don't you obey the king's order?" But after they had confronted him a number of times without his paying attention to them, they told Haman.
Boo.
In order to find out whether Mordecai's
Yay.
explanation that he was a Jew would suffice to justify his behavior. Haman
Boo.
was furious when he saw that Mordecai
Yay.
was not kneeling and bowing down to him. However, on learning what people Mordecai
Yay.
belonged to, It seemed to him a waste to lay hands on Mordecai
Yay!
alone. Rather, he decided to destroy all of Mordecai's
Hey!
people, the Jews, throughout the whole of Ahasuerus'
Gesundheit.
kingdom. In the first month of Nisan, in the 12th year of Ahasuerus,
Gesundheit.
they began throwing pur, that is, they cast lots, before Haman
Boo!
every day and every month until the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. Then Haman
Boo!
said to Ahasuerus,
Gesundheit.
there is a particular people scattered and dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from those of every other people. Moreover, they don't observe the king's laws. It doesn't befit the king to tolerate them. If it please the king, have a decree written for their destruction, and I will hand over 330 tons of silver to the officials in charge of the king's affairs to deposit in the royal treasury. The king took this signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman,
Boo!
the son of Hamdata, the Agagi, the enemy of the Jews. The king said to Haman,
Boo!
the money is given to you and the people too, to do with as seems good to you. The king's secretaries were summoned on the 13th day of the first month. They wrote down all Haman's
Boo!
orders to the king's army commanders and governors in all the provinces and to the officials of every people, to which province in its own script and to each people in their own language. Everything was written in the name of King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
and sealed with the king's signet ring. Letters were sent by courier to all the royal provinces to destroy, kill, and exterminate all Jews, from young to old, including small children and women, on a specific day, the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, and to seize their goods as plunder. A copy of the document, to be issued as a decree in every province, was to be publicly proclaimed to all peoples, so that they would be ready for that day. At the king's order, the runners went out quickly, and the decree was issued in Shushan, the capital. Then the king and Haman
Boo!
sat down for a drink together, but the city of Shushan was thrown into confusion. When Mordecai
Yay!
learned everything that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out through the city, lamenting and crying bitterly. He stopped before entering the king's gate, since no one was allowed to go inside the king's gate wearing sackcloth. In every province reached by the king's order and decree, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and wailing, as many lay down on sackcloth and ashes. When the girls and officials attending Esther
Yeah.
came and informed her of this, the queen became deeply distressed. She sent clothes for Mordecai
Yay!
to wear instead of his sackcloth, but he wouldn't accept them. So Esther
Oh.
summoned Hatak, one of the king's officials attending her, and instructed him to go to Mordecai
Yay!
and find out what this was all about and why. Hatak went out to Mordecai
Yay!
in the open space in front of the king's gate, and Mordecai
Yay!
told him everything that had happened to him and exactly how much silver Haman
Boo!
had promised to put in the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. So he also gave him a copy of the decree for their destruction issued in Shushan, so that he would show it to Esther,
Oh.
explain it to her, and then instruct her to approach the king intercede with him and implore his favor on behalf of her people. Hatak returned and told Esther
Aw.
what Mordecai
Yay.
had said. Then Esther
Aw.
spoke to Hatak and gave him this message for Mordecai.
Yay.
All the king's officials, as well as the people in the royal provinces, know that if anyone, man or woman, approaches the king in the inner courtyard without being summoned, there is just one law: he must be put to death. As the scepter goes forth, gives life. Without the scepter going forth, gives death. Unless the king holds out the gold scepter for him to remain alive, and I haven't been summoned to the king for the past 30 days. Upon being told what Esther
Aw.
had said, Mordecai
Yay.
asked them to give Esther
Aw.
this answer. Don't suppose that merely because you happen to be in the royal palace, you will escape any more than the other Jews. For if you fail to speak up now, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from a different direction, but you and your family will perish. Who knows whether you didn't come into your royal position precisely for such a time as this? Esther
Aw.
had them return this answer to Mordecai.
Yay.
Go, assemble all the Jews to be found in Shushan, and have them fast for me, neither eating nor drinking for 3 days, night and day. Also, I and the girls attending me will fast the same way. Then I will go to the king, which is against the law. If I perish, I perish. Then Mordecai
Yay.
went his way and did everything Esther
Aw.
had ordered him to do. On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner courtyard of the king's palace opposite the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne in the king's hall, across from the entrance to the hall. Then the king saw Esther,
Aw.
the queen, standing in the courtyard. She won his favor, so the king extended the gold scepter in his hand towards Esther.
Aw.
Esther
Aw.
approached and touched the tip of the scepter. What is it you want, Queen Esther?
Aw.
The king asked her. Whatever your request, up to half the kingdom, it will be given to you. If it is all right with the king, answered Esther,
Aw.
let the king and Haman
Boo.
come today to the banquet I have prepared for him. The king said, bring Haman
Boo.
quickly, so that what Esther
Aw.
has asked for can be done. So the king and Haman
Boo.
came to the banquet Esther
Aw.
had prepared. At the banquet of wine, the king again said to Esther,
Aw.
whatever your request will be granted it. Whatever you want, up to half the kingdom, it will be done. Then Esther
Aw.
answered, my request is what I want is this. If I have won the king's favor, if it pleases the king to grant my request and do what I want, let the king and Haman
Boo.
come to the banquet which I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king has said. Verse 9. That day Haman
Boo.
went out happy and in good spirits. But when Haman
Boo.
saw Mordecai
Yay.
at the king's gate, that he neither rose nor moved for him. Haman
Boo.
was infuriated with Mordecai.
Yay.
Nevertheless, Haman
Boo!
restrained himself and went home, where he summoned and brought his friends and Zeresh his wife. Haman
Boo!
boasted to them about his vast wealth, his many sons, and everything connected with how the king had promoted him and given him precedence over other officials and servants of the king. Indeed, Haman
Boo!
added, Esther,
Aw.
the queen, let nobody into the banquet with the king that she had prepared except myself. And tomorrow, too, I am invited by her together with the king. Yet none of this does me any good at all as long as I keep seeing Mordecai,
Yay!
the Jew, remaining seated at the king's gate. At this, Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends said to him, have a gallows 75 feet high constructed, and in the morning speak to the king about having Mordecai
Yay!
hanged on it. Then go in and enjoy yourself with the king at the banquet. Haman
Boo!
liked the idea, so he had a gallows made. That night, the king couldn't sleep, so he ordered the records of the daily journal brought, and they were read to the king. It was found written that Mordecai
Yay!
had told about Bigtana and Teresh, two of the king's officers from the group in charge of the private entryways, who had conspired to assassinate King Ahasuerus.
Gesundheit.
The king asked what honor or distinction was conferred on Mordecai
Yay!
for this. The king's servants answered, nothing was done for him. The king then asked, who's that in the courtyard? For Haman
Boo!
had come into the outer courtyard of the king's palace to speak to the king about hanging Mordecai on the gallows he had prepared for him. The king's servants told him, it's Haman,
Boo!
standing there in the courtyard. The king said, have him come in. So Haman
Boo!
came in. The king said to him, what should be done for a man that the king wants to honor? Haman thought to himself, whom would the king want to honor more than me? So Haman
Boo!
answered the king, for a man the king wants to honor, have royal robes brought which the king himself wears, and the horse the king himself rides, with a royal crown on his head. The robes and the horse should be handed over to the one of the king's most respected officials, and they should put the robes on the man the king wants to honor and lead him on horseback through the streets of the city, proclaiming ahead of him, this is what is done for a man whom the king wants to honor. The king said to Haman, hurry and take the
Boo!
robes and the horse as you said, and do this for Mordecai, the Jew
Yay!
who sits at the king's gate. Don't leave out anything you mentioned. So Haman
Boo!
took the robes and the horse, dressed Mordecai,
Yay!
and led him riding through the streets of the city as he proclaimed ahead of him, this is what is done for a man whom the king wants to honor. Then Mordecai
Yay!
returned to the king's gate, but Haman
Boo!
rushed home with his head covered in mourning. After Haman
Boo!
had told Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends everything that had happened to him, his advisors and his wife Zeresh said to him, if Mordecai,
Yay!
before whom you have begun to fall, is a Jew, you will not get the better of him. On the contrary, your downfall before him is certain. While they were still talking with him, the king's officials came, hurrying to bring Haman
Boo!
to the banquet Esther
Aw.
had prepared. So the king and Haman
Boo!
went to Queen Esther's
Aw.
banquet, and the king again said to Esther
Aw.
at the wine banquet, "Whatever your request, Queen Esther,
Aw.
you will be granted it. Whatever you want, up to half the kingdom, it will be done." Esther,
Aw.
the queen, answered, "If I have won your favor, king, and if it pleases the king, then what I ask be given me is my own life and lives of my people. For we have been sold, and I and my people to be destroyed, killed, exterminated. If we had only been sold as men and women slaves, I would have remained quiet. Since then, our trouble would not have been worth the damage it would have caused the king to alter the situation." King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
asked Esther,
Aw.
the queen, "Who is he? Where is the man who dared do such a thing?" Esther
Aw.
said, "A ruthless enemy. It is this wicked Haman."
Boo!
Haman
Boo!
stood aghast, terrified before the king and queen. In a rage, the king got up from the wine banquet and went out to the palace garden. But Haman
Boo!
remained, pleading with Esther,
Aw.
the queen, to spare his life, for he could see that the king had decided to do him in. Haman
Boo!
had just fallen on the couch where Esther
Aw.
was. Then, when the king returned from the palace garden to the wine banquet, he shouted, "Is he even going to rape the queen here in the palace before my very eyes?" The moment these words left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's
Boo!
face. Havona, one of the king's attendants, said, "Look, the gallows 75 feet high that Haman
Boo!
made for Mordecai,
Yay!
who spoke only good for the king, is standing at Haman's
Boo!
house." The king said, "Hang him on it." So they hanged Haman
Boo!
on the gallows he had prepared for Mordecai.
Yay!
Then the king's anger subsided. That same day, King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
gave the house of Haman,
Boo!
the enemy of the Jews, to Esther,
Aw.
the queen. Also, Mordecai
Yay!
appeared before the king, for Esther
Aw.
had revealed his relationship to her. The king removed his signet ring, which he had taken back from Haman,
Boo!
and gave it to Mordecai.
Yay!
Then Esther
Aw.
put Mordecai
Yay!
in charge of Haman's
Boo!
house. Again, Esther
Aw.
spoke to the king. She fell at his feet and begged him with tears to put an end to the mischief Haman,
Boo!
the Agagi, had caused by the scheme he had worked out against the Jews. The king extended the gold scepter towards Esther.
Aw.
So Esther
Aw.
got up and stood in front of the king. She said, "If it pleases the king, if I have won his favor, if the matter seems right to the king, and I have his approval, then let an order be written rescinding the letters devised by Haman,
Boo!
the son of Hamdata the Agagi, which he wrote to destroy the Jews in all the provinces. For how can I bear to see the disaster that will overcome my people? How can I endure to see the extermination of my kinsmen?" King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
said to Esther,
Aw.
the queen, and Mordecai,
Yay!
the Jew, "Listen, I gave Esther
Aw.
the house of Haman,
Boo!
and they hanged him on the gallows because he threatened the lives of Jews. You should issue a decree in the king's name for whatever you want concerning the Jews, and seal it with the king's signet ring. because a decree written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring can't be rescinded by anyone. The king's secretaries were summoned at that time on the 23rd day of the third month, the month of Sivan, and the decree was written according to everything Mordecai
Yay!
ordered concerning the Jews to the army commanders, governors, and officials of the provinces from India to Ethiopia, 127 provinces, to each province in its script and to each people in their own language, also to the Jews in their script and language. They wrote in the name of King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
and sealed it with the king's signet ring. They sent the letters by courier on horseback riding fast horses used in the king's service and bred from royal stock. The letters said that king had granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and defend their lives by destroying, killing, and exterminating any forces of any people or province that would attack them, their little ones or their women, or would try to seize their goods as plunder on the designated day in any of the provinces of King Ahasuerus,
Gesundheit.
namely the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar. The copy of the edict was to be issued as a decree in every province and proclaimed to all the peoples, and the Jews were to be ready on that day to take vengeance against their enemies. Couriers riding fast horses used in the king's service left quickly, pressed by the king's order, and the decree was issued in Shushan, the capital. Meanwhile, Mordecai
Yay!
left the king's presence arrayed in royal blue and white, wearing a large gold crown and a robe of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan shouted for joy. For the Jews, all was light, gladness, joy, and honor. In every province and city where the king's order and decree arrived, the Jews had gladness and joy, a feast and a holiday. Many from the peoples of the land became Jews because fear of the Jews had overcome them. Chapter 9. The time approached for the king's order and decree to be carried out, the day when the enemies of the Jews hoped to overpower them. But as it turned out, the opposite took place. The Jews overpowered those who hated them. Thus, on the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, the Jews assembled in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
to attack anyone who tried to do them harm, and no one was able to withstand them, because all the peoples were afraid of them. All the officials of the provinces, the army commanders, the governors, and those occupied with the king's affairs helped the Jews because they were afraid of Mordecai.
Yay!
For Mordecai
Yay!
had become powerful person in the king's palace, and his fame had spread throughout all the provinces. Mordecai continued
Yay!
to grow increasingly powerful. The Jews put all their enemies to the sword. There was great slaughter and destruction as they did whatever they wanted to those who hated them. In Shushan, the capital, the Jews slaughtered 500 men. They put to death the 10 sons of Hamdah, of Haman,
Boo!
the son of Hamdata, the enemy of the Jews. The same day after the king had been told the number of those killed in Shushan, the capital, he said to Esther,
Aw.
the queen, if the Jews have slaughtered 500 men in Shushan, the capital, and the 10 sons of Haman,
Boo.
what have they done in the rest of the royal provinces? Now, whatever your request, you will be granted it. Whatever more you want, it will be done. Esther
Aw.
replied, if it pleases the king, let the Jews in Shushan act again tomorrow in accordance with today's decree. Also have Haman's
Boo.
10 sons hanged on the gallows. The king ordered these things done. A decree was issued in Shushan, and they hanged Haman's
Boo.
10 sons. So the Jews in Shushan assembled also on the 14th day of the month of Adar and killed 300 men in Shushan, but they did not touch the spoil. The other Jews, those in the royal provinces, had assembled, defended their lives, and won rest from their enemies, killing 75,000 of those who hated them, but without touching the spoil. On the 13th day of the month of Adar, so on the 14th day of Adar, they rested and made a holiday for celebrating and rejoicing. However, the Jews of Shushan assembled on both the 13th and 14th days of Adar. So it was on the 15th that they rested and made it a holiday for celebrating and rejoicing. This is why the Jews of the villages who live in unwalled towns make the 14th day of the month of Adar a day for celebrating and rejoicing, a holiday and a time for sending each other portions of food. Mordecai
Yay.
recorded these events and sent letters to all the Jews in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus,
Gesundheit.
both near and far, instructing them to observe the 14th day of the month of Adar and the 15th day every year to commemorate the days on which the Jews obtained rest from their enemies, and the month which for them was turned from sorrow into gladness, and from mourning into a holiday. They were to make them days of celebrating and rejoicing, sending portions of food to each other and giving gifts to the poor. So the Jews took it upon themselves to continue what they had already begun to do, and as Mordecai
Yay.
had written to them, because Haman,
Boo.
the son of Hamdata the Agagi, the enemy of the Jews, had plotted against the Jews to destroy them and had thrown Pur, that is, cast lots, to crush and destroy them. But when Esther
Aw.
came before the king, he ordered the letters that Haman,
Boo.
wicked scheme, which he had plotted against the Jews, should recoil on his own head, and that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows. This is why these days have been called Purim, after the word Pur. Thus, because of everything written in this letter and what they had seen concerning this matter and what had come upon them, the Jews resolved and took upon themselves, their descendants, and all who might join them, that without fail they would observe these 2 days in accordance with what was written in this letter, and at the appointed time every year, and that these days would be remembered and observed throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city, and that these days of Purim would never cease among the Jews, or their memory be lost by their descendants. Then Esther the queen,
Oh,
the daughter of Achavel and
Abigail.
Avicail and Mordecai,
Yay!
the Jew, gave full written authority to confirm the letter about Purim. He sent copies of it to all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the king of Ahasuerus,
Gesundheit.
ensuring their peace and security and requiring the observance of these days of Purim at their designated time, as Mordecai the
Yay!
Jew and Esther
Aw.
the queen had enjoined them, and as they had established for themselves and their descendants concerning the matters of fasting and lamenting at Esther's order.
Aw.
These matters of Purim were confirmed and put in writing in the book. King Ahasuerus
Gesundheit.
laid tribute on the land, the coast, and the islands, all the acts of his power and might, along with a full account of the high honor to which the king advanced Mordecai,
Yay!
are written in the annals of the kings of Media and Persia. For Mordecai,
Yay!
the Jew, was second only to King Ahasuerus.
Gesundheit.
He was a great man among the Jews, popular with all his many countrymen. He sought the goods of his people and interceded for the welfare of their descendants. Amen.
Woo! Yay! And that is the story from the book of Esther. So in every generation, the spirit of Haman, boo, rises up to shake its fist toward heaven and then bring it down to crush Yahweh's people. We know very well that if Yah is with us, who can be against us? No matter what evil men strive to do to us, with Yah, we have the victory. So let us be confident that as we go forth, we go forward with unbreakable faith in our God and unspeakable joy in our hearts. For greater is he within us than he who is in the world. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Messiah's come, and he brought joy, and he brought laughter into my soul. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Messiah's come, and he brought joy, and he brought laughter into my soul. I once was lost, my spirit cold, and I had gone far from the fold. Messiah came, he made me sing, and he brought laughter into my soul. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Messiah's come, and he brought joy, and he brought laughter into my soul. Well, it would have been enough that he brought peace. Well, it would have been enough that he brought life. Well, it would have been enough that he brought joy, but he brought laughter into my soul. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Messiah's come, and he brought joy, and he brought laughter into my soul. Oh, hallelujah, praise the Lord. Oh, hallelujah, praise the Lord. Oh, hallelujah, praise the Lord, for he brought laughter into my soul. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Messiah's come, and he brought joy, and he brought laughter into my soul. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Oh, come, let's sing, let us rejoice. Messiah's come, and he brought joy, and he brought laughter into my soul. And he brought laughter into my soul. And he brought laughter into my soul. And to bless you, you're coming in and you're going out. Yivarechecha Yahweh vayishmarecha. Ya'er Yahweh panav elecha v'hunecha. Yisa Yahweh panav elecha ve'yasem lecha Shalom. May Yahweh bless and keep you. May Yahweh make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May Yahweh lift up his countenance. May Yahweh turn his glorious face toward you and grant you his shalom, which is a peace far above and high above all human understanding. And may he be your might and your power. May he be your redeemer and your protector. And may he place his name upon you, that he would be your God and you would be his people. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, Sar Shalom, in the name of our Messiah, Yeshua, who is the Prince of Peace. Hag Sameach, Hag Purim Sameach, and Shalom Shalom.